The rain-slicked streets of downtown Seoul gleamed under the sodium lights, reflecting the neon haze of the city that never slept. Inside the opulent confines of Han River Grill, a high-end fusion restaurant perched on the edge of the Han River, the air was thick with the aroma of sizzling bulgogi and aged whiskey. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm, deceptive glow over linen-draped tables, where power brokers and shadowed figures dined in murmurs. The river outside churned restlessly, its dark waters lapping against the reinforced glass walls, like a reminder that beneath the surface, currents could drag you under. Elena Kim wiped her hands on her crisp black apron, her shift dragging into the late hours. At 28, she had mastered the art of invisibility in this world of the elite, smiling just enough to earn tips, fading into the background otherwise. Her dark hair was pulled into a neat bun, and her eyes, a striking almond shape with flecks of hazel, caught the light as she balanced a tray of soju glasses. The restaurant catered to the discreet, politicians, CEOs, and those who operated in grayer areas. Tonight, the private booth in the corner drew her attention, a group that arrived without reservations, their security detail lingering near the entrance like statues in tailored suits. The elderly woman at the booth's head was the first to unsettle her. Dressed in a silk hanbok modified for modern elegance, her silver hair pinned with jade, she sat with the poise of someone who had weathered storms. Her gaze locked onto Elena as she approached with the drink order. It wasn't the usual appraising stare of a demanding patron. It was piercing, almost accusatory, as if Elena had stepped out of a forgotten photograph. Elena set down the glasses, murmuring a polite, "Enjoy your evening," in Korean, but the woman didn't look away. Her wrinkled hands, adorned with a single gold ring etched in Hanja characters, trembled slightly as she reached out, stopping just short of Elena's arm. "You have my son's eyes," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread laced with wonder and pain. The words hung in the air, slicing through the low hum of conversation and the distant clink of silverware. Elena's pulse quickened. She forced a smile, assuming it was a mix-up. Perhaps the woman had too much macchioli, or the dim lighting played tricks. "Ma'am, I think you might have me confused." But the woman shook her head, her eyes glistening. "No, child. Those eyes, they belonged to him, my Ji-hoon." The name carried weight, unspoken histories flickering behind it like shadows on the riverbank. Before Elena could retreat, a low groan cut through the booth. The man beside the woman, broad-shouldered in his mid-40s with a face carved from granite and a suit that screamed custom Italian, clutched his chest. His name was whispered in the undercurrents of the city. Kang Min-jun, the boss of the Black Lotus Syndicate, a man whose empire spanned shipping routes from Busan docks to hidden warehouses along the Yalu River. He was untouchable, they said, his operations a web of legitimate fronts and illicit cargo that kept rivals at bay. Min-jun's glass slipped from his fingers, shattering on the polished teak floor. His security detail surged forward, but he was already slumping, face paling as he gasped for air. The restaurant's ambient jazz faltered, replaced by the sharp intake of breaths from nearby tables. Elena's training kicked in. Years of waitressing in high-pressure spots had taught her the basics of first aid, courtesy of a cousin who worked ER shifts at Seoul National University Hospital. "Call an ambulance!" she barked, dropping to her knees beside him. The elderly woman, his mother, Elena realized with a jolt, recoiled, her hand flying to her mouth. Min-jun's eyes, dark and stormy, met Elena's for a split second, confusion and something sharper flashing there before his lids fluttered. She pressed 2 fingers to his neck, feeling the erratic thrum beneath the starched collar. His skin was clammy, breath shallow. Poison? Heart attack? In this crowd, both were plausible. The security men hovered, one barking into a concealed earpiece, while another scanned the room with predatory efficiency. "Clear the area," he growled, his voice low but laced with authority. Elena didn't hesitate. She tilted Minjun's head back, checking his airway, her hands steady despite the adrenaline surging like the river outside. The scent of his cologne, sandalwood and gunmetal, mixed with the metallic tang of fear sweat. "Stay with me," she murmured, more to herself than him. A waiter rushed over with a napkin which he used to loosen his tie. The mother's voice broke through, trembling. "Ji-hoon! He had eyes like that too, lost to the river years ago. You're a sign." Her words were cryptic, pulling at threads Elena didn't understand. Who was Ji-hoon, and why did this stranger see her son in a waitress? Sirens wailed in the distance, cutting through the rain-lashed night. The security detail formed a perimeter, their eyes darting to every shadow. One of them, a wiry man with a scar bisecting his eyebrow, shot Elena a glance that wasn't gratitude. It was assessment, as if she were now part of the equation. Paramedics burst through the doors minutes later, wheeling in a gurney amid the controlled chaos. They took over, stabilizing Minjun with oxygen and monitors that beeped insistently. As they loaded him onto the stretcher, his mother's hand gripped Elena's wrist. "Come with us, please." He would want answers. Elena pulled back, heart pounding. She wasn't part of this world. The late shifts, the student loans from her half-finished business degree, the quiet apartment above a noodle shop. But the woman's plea, and the way Minjun's gaze had lingered on her, stirred something. Curiosity? Fear? Or the nagging sense that those eyes in the mirror held secrets she hadn't uncovered? The ambulance doors slammed shut, red lights pulsing against the wet pavement. One of the security men approached her, slipping a card into her hand. Black, matte, with embossed gold lettering. A private number, no name. "Boss will want to thank you personally. Don't make us come find you." As the vehicle sped away, Elena pocketed the card, the river's murmur echoing her unease. Who was the sun with her eyes? And what poison, or betrayal, had just pulled her into the Black Lotus's shadowed depths? The rain had eased to a persistent drizzle by the time Elena stepped out of Han River Grill, the cool night air slapping against her flushed skin like a warning. The river's edge hummed with the low growl of barges cutting through the current, their lights smearing across the water like fractured memories. She clutched her coat tighter, the black card burning a hole in her pocket. Her shift had ended abruptly after the chaos. Management had sent her home early, murmuring about pending investigations, while the police lingered inside, questioning staff with the rote efficiency of a Tuesday disturbance. But Elena knew better. This wasn't a random collapse. The way the security detail had sealed off the booth, their eyes scanning for tails, spoke of deeper currents. Back in her cramped apartment above the noodle shop in Itaewon, the scent of simmering kimchi jjigae from downstairs seeped through the floorboards, grounding her as she paced the worn linoleum. The space was a sanctuary of sorts. Posters of forgotten K-dramas on the walls. A half-read textbook on international trade open on the kitchen table. Student loans loomed like shadows, her dreams of finishing that business degree deferred by endless shifts. She pulled out the card, running her thumb over the embossed gold. No name, just a number and a subtle lotus emblem. Calling it felt like crossing a line, but the elderly woman's words echoed. "You have my son's eyes. Ji-hoon." The name tugged at something buried, a vague recollection from childhood stories her own mother had whispered. Lost relatives, unspoken tragedies during the turbulent 90s in Busan. Her phone buzzed before she could dial. An unknown number. Heart thudding, she answered. "Ms. Kim, this is Park from the detail at the grill. Boss is stable at Severance Hospital. He wants to see you. Now." The voice was clipped, no room for refusal, laced with the faint static of a secure line. Elena hesitated, glancing at the clock. Midnight. "I'm not family. I just helped." A pause, then a low chuckle devoid of humor. "In our world, that makes you more than that. Cars outside, Black sedan, plates ending in 77. Don't keep us waiting. She ended the call, pulse racing. Refusing could mean trouble. In Seoul's underbelly, debts weren't optional. Curiosity won out. Why her? Why the eyes? Slipping into a simple black dress and coat, she descended the stairs, the noodle shop's owner nodding knowingly from behind the counter. The sedan idled curbside, rain beading on its tinted windows. A driver in a nondescript suit held the door, his face impassive under the brim of a cap. No words as they pulled into traffic, the Han River's bridges arching overhead like veins in the city's pulse. The drive to Gangnam was a blur of wet asphalt and sodium glow, the wipers slicing rhythmic arcs. Elena's mind raced. Poison seemed likely, given Min Jun's profile. Whispers in the restaurant staff room painted him as a kingpin, his Black Lotus syndicate controlling cargo from Incheon ports. Legit electronics mixed with smuggled routes that evaded customs via bribed manifests. Rivals from the north, perhaps, or internal snakes. She caught the driver's glance in the rear view, subtle but probing. "Routine escort," he said finally, as if reading her tension. "Boss doesn't forget favors." Severance Hospital loomed like a fortress of glass and steel, its emergency wing cordoned off by unmarked vans. Security waved them through a side entrance, the air inside shifting to the sterile tang of antiseptic and latex. Elevators hummed upward, bypassing public floors to a private suite on the executive level, restricted access, keycard only. Eleanor's sneakers squeaked on the polished tile, a stark contrast to the suited guards who flanked her. The room was dimly lit, monitors beeping softly like distant heartbeats. Min Jun lay propped against pillows, an IV dripping into his arm, his granite features softened by exhaustion. Tubes snaked from his nose, but his dark eyes, sharp, assessing, locked onto her immediately. The elderly woman, Mrs. Kang, sat beside him, her hanbok rumpled, clutching a string of prayer beads. She rose as Elena entered, her grip firm on Elena's arm. "You came. The eyes. They saved him tonight." Elena swallowed, the room's chill seeping into her bones. "I did what anyone would. What happened to him?" Min Jun's voice rasped, weak but commanding. "Tampered soju from the bottle I ordered. Doctors say ricin, slow-acting, traced to a supplier in Busan." He shifted, wincing, the bed creaking under his frame. "My enemies don't play clean. But you acted fast, stabilized me till the team arrived." Park, the wiry guard from the restaurant, stood in the corner scrolling a burner phone. His scar twitched as he glanced up. "We swept the grill, bottles gone, swiped before police arrived. Inside job, maybe." "Wait staff?" Elena's stomach knotted. "Not me. I served it straight from the bar." Mrs. Kang's eyes softened, tracing Elena's face. "Ji-hoon drowned in the Han 20 years ago. Body never found. He was just a boy, caught in a raid. Rival gangs fighting over docks. But your eyes. Same shape, same light. It's like fate sent you." Min Jun waved a hand, silencing her. "Fate's for fools. But debts are real. Stay close, Elena Kim. My mother sees ghosts. I see leverage. Someone's watching us all now." His gaze held hers, a mix of gratitude and possession that sent a shiver down her spine. Autonomy clashed with the pull of his world, safety in numbers or a cage. A knock interrupted, sharp and urgent. A doctor in scrubs entered, tablet in hand. "Mr. Kang, TOC screen confirms it. But there's an anomaly. Trace elements match a shipment we interdicted last month at Incheon. Manifest listed it as fertilizer additives." Min Jun's jaw tightened. Rivals from the Red Dragon? Or one of my own captains skimming? Elena caught Park's subtle nod to a guard outside, rotating shifts, earpieces buzzing with updates. The room felt smaller, surveillance cameras in the corners whirring faintly. As she turned to leave, Mrs. Kang pressed a small jade pendant into her palm. "Ji-hoon's," she whispered. "Wear it. For protection." But as Elena stepped into the hallway, her phone vibrated again. A text from an unknown. Eyes like his won't save you. River claims its own. The sender's number vanished, leaving only the echo of footsteps in the corridor. Who had her contact? And why did the pendant suddenly feel heavier than gold? The jade pendant hung heavy against Elena's chest as she slipped into the back of the sedan, the hospital's fluorescent hum fading behind tinted glass. The driver, a silent type with a jaw like chiseled basalt, navigated Gangnam's labyrinth of high-rises, where luxury condos pierced the drizzle like silver needles. Rain pattered on the roof, a staccato rhythm that mirrored her racing thoughts. The text burned in her mind. Eyes like his won't save you. River claims its own. No trace of the sender, just a ghost in her notifications. She glanced at her reflection in the window, those hazel-flecked eyes staring back, ordinary, until tonight. The car didn't head straight to Itaewon. Instead, it veered toward the Han River's south bank, where industrial docks stretched like forgotten veins under the city's glow. Barges groaned against their moorings, the air thick with the briny tang of water and diesel. Elena straightened, unease coiling in her gut. "This isn't my place," she said, voice steady despite the knot. The driver met her eyes in the rear view, his tone flat. "Change of plans, boss's orders, your apartment's compromised. We're taking you to a safe house till we sweep it." He tapped the wheel, accelerating past a chain-link fence topped with razor wire. Floodlights swept the pier, illuminating stacks of shipping containers stamped with faded Lotus icons. Black Lotus territory, she realized. The legitimate side, electronics imports, or so the manifests claimed, but whispers from the grille's backroom chats painted a grimmer picture, hidden compartments for contraband slipping past customs via forged papers and bribed inspectors. They pulled into a nondescript warehouse, its corrugated metal walls echoing with the distant rumble of generators. Security lights buzzed overhead, casting long shadows that danced like watchful sentinels. Two guards nodded at the driver, one scanning a tablet, likely cross-checking plates against the encrypted ledger. Elena stepped out, the chill river wind whipping her coat, carrying the faint rot of algae and oil. Inside, the space transformed. Beyond the loading bays lay a partitioned loft, furnished with minimalist precision. Leather couches, a wall of monitors flickering with feeds from city cams, and a kitchenette stocked with bottled water and instant ramyeon. Park, the scarred lieutenant, waited there, nursing a black coffee. His burner phone lay on the table, screen glowing with incoming pings. "Ms. Kim, settle in. We've got eyes on your building. Unmarked van, plates 42 Alpha 9. Spotted a tail after you left the hospital." He slid a tablet toward her, pulling up a grainy feed. Her noodle shop apartment, the alley below alive with the flicker of a cigarette from a shadowed figure. No face, just the glow illuminating a gloved hand. Elena's breath caught. "Who? Police?" Park's scar twitched. "Worse. Red Dragon Scouts, probably. They poisoned the boss, ricin in the soju. Sourced from a fertilizer batch we seized at Incheon last month. Manifest was clean on paper, but lab traces match. Someone inside flipped, swapped the bottle at the grill." He leaned in, voice dropping. "You served it. Coincidence?" She recoiled, heat rising. "I didn't tamper with anything. Check the bar cams. Already did. Footage glitches at 9:15 p.m., 2-minute blackout. Our tech guy's pulling metadata, but it's deliberate. Jamming signal from a pocket device." His eyes bored into hers, assessing loyalty before trust. "Boss trusts you for now. Mother's convinced you're a sign from Ji-hoon. Me, I see a waitress who knows too much." The monitors hummed, one feed switching to the hospital exterior, Mrs. Kang being helped into an armored SUV, her handbook fluttering like a flag of surrender. Minjun's voice crackled over an intercom from upstairs, a makeshift recovery room. Park explained. Elena, stay put. We'll talk tomorrow. Don't contact anyone. Autonomy clashed with the steel bars of necessity. She wasn't a prisoner, but the warehouse felt like one. Exits guarded, windows barred with sensor strips. Elena paced the loft. The pendant's cool weight, a reminder of ghosts she didn't summon. Ji-hoon, drowned in a gang skirmish over dock territories, Mrs. Kang had murmured at the hospital. A raid gone wrong, bodies swept into the Han's current. Elena's own family ties to Busan flickered in memory, her mother's vague tales of uncles lost to business disputes in the 90s. When syndicates carved up shipping lanes like turf wars, she sank onto the couch, pulling out her phone, signal weak, but a quick search on the Black Lotus yielded scrubbed results. Official bios for Min Jun as a logistics CEO, buried forum posts hinting at Enforcer's vanishing rivals via accidental cargo spills. The threatening text gnawed at her. How had they gotten her number? The Grill's staff roster, maybe, hacked or leaked. A soft beep from Park's tablet drew her eye, an intercepted message, encrypted but partially decoded. Eyes confirmed, extract at dawn, river drop. Park snatched it back, but not before she glimpsed the sender's tag. RD Shadow, Red Dragon. Her stomach twisted. Dawn was hours away, and the warehouse backed onto the docks. Mere steps from the churning water. Tension thickened as thunder rumbled outside, a storm front rolling in from the Yellow Sea. Lights flickered, the generators whining against the load. Park cursed, checking his earpiece. Perimeter breach. False alarm. No, power surge. Stay here. He vanished down a stairwell, leaving Eleanor alone with the monitors. One feed glitched. The alley cam outside her apartment showed the smoker gone, but a new shadow lingered. A sedan with plates obscured by mud, engine idling. Her phone vibrated, battery draining fast. Unknown number again. Pendant marks you. Leave now or join the river. She deleted it, heart hammering, but the words lingered like the storm's approaching roar. Possession or protection. Min Jun's world offered safety in its shadows, but at what cost to her independence? As lightning cracked the sky, illuminating the warehouse's steel beams, Elena spotted a flicker on the internal cam. A door ajar in the loading bay, where it should have been locked. Footsteps echoed below, too light for Park's tread. Was it a guard rotation or something slipping through the cracks? And if the Red Dragon knew about the pendant, how deep did their eyes reach into the Black Lotus? If you're enjoying this story so far, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching from. The storm unleashed its fury on the warehouse, rain hammering the metal roof like 1,000 frantic heartbeats. Thunder rolled through the Han River docks, shaking the foundations and drowning out the generator's persistent hum. Elena froze in the loft, her eyes fixed on the internal camera feed where the loading bay door hung slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning like an uninvited guest. The pendant at her throat felt like ice against her skin, its jade surface etched with hanja that now seemed more curse than talisman. She backed away from the monitors, the leather couch creaking under her weight, its faint scent of polish mixing with the musty dampness seeping through the walls. Park had been gone less than a minute, his heavy boots echoing down the stairwell toward the breach. No response from his earpiece yet, just static crackling faintly from the tablet he'd left behind. Elena's phone lay silent in her hand, the battery icon blinking red at 12%. She shouldn't have lingered. Autonomy screamed to run, to slip out a side exit and vanish into the storm-swept night. But Min Jun's world had already woven its threads around her. Debts unspoken, eyes that mirrored a lost son, and now this, a threat that knew her too well. Loyalty to a stranger, or fear of the river's pull, claiming what it saw as its own. A low groan from the loading bay below snapped her from the paralysis, not thunder, human, muffled, like a body hitting concrete. Eleanor crept to the loft's railing, peering down into the shadowed expanse. Stacks of wooden crates loomed like silent witnesses, their labels faded. Electronics. Fragile. But she knew better. These were the fronts, the legitimate veil over Black Lotus shipments. The air down there carried the sharp bite of ozone from the storm, undercut by something metallic. Blood. Her pulse thrummed in her ears as she descended the metal stairs, each step a whisper against the gale outside. The door to the bay was indeed ajar, wind whistling through the gap, rattling chains on nearby forklifts. Sodium lights flickered overhead, casting erratic pools of yellow on the wet floor. Park lay sprawled near a pallet of sealed boxes, his scar twisted in a grimace, a dark stain blooming across his shirt from a gash at his temple. No gun in sight. Disarmed, perhaps. Eleanor knelt beside him, the cold concrete biting through her jeans. "Park? Can you hear me?" Her voice was a thread, lost in the downpour. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Trap. Red Dragon, inside man." He coughed, wincing, and fumbled for his earpiece, which dangled loose. "Jammed the signal. Burner in my pocket. Call extraction. Code 729. His hand gripped her wrist, fingers slick with rain or sweat. "Don't trust the driver. Plates. Fake. He brought you here for this." Elena's mind reeled. The driver, the silent escort from the hospital. Routine, he'd said. But now inconsistencies piled up. The sedan's mud-obscured plates on the feed, the weak signal in the warehouse, the text that pinpointed the pendant. She fished the burner from his jacket, a cheap flip phone, encrypted keys glowing faintly. Her fingers trembled as she punched in the code, the line connecting with a series of beeps. "This is Kim. Park's down. Breach in the warehouse. Red Dragon." A voice responded, clipped and urgent. Min Jun's second in command, she guessed, from the hospital detail. "Hold position. Convoy en route. 5 minutes. Seal the bay." The call cut, leaving only the storm's roar. 5 minutes. An eternity in a place like this. She dragged Park behind a crate stack, his weight dead like sodden rope, the effort burning her arms. The metallic tang sharpened, definitely blood, mixing with the river's briny whisper through the cracked door. Footsteps splashed outside, deliberate 2 sets. Shadows elongated under the lights, figures in black rain gear, faces obscured by hoods, one carrying a suppressed pistol, the other a duffel, tools for extraction or disposal. Red Dragon operatives, clean and professional, not the street thugs of old turf wars. They moved with guard rotation precision, one sweeping the perimeter while the other checked the door. Elena's breath came shallow, hidden in the crate's shadow. The pendant swung forward as she leaned, catching a glint from the light. One intruder paused, head tilting as if scenting prey. Signals live. She's here. The eyes. His voice was low, accented from the north, perhaps a defector from Yalu border runs. They knew. The text wasn't a bluff. Someone inside the Black Lotus had leaked her position, her description, the jade marker. Betrayal, pure and logistical. A bribed guard, a hacked ledger from the grill's POS system, cross-referenced with hospital visitor logs. The first shot whispered, suppressed, punching into a nearby generator panel. Sparks flew, the lights stuttering into half-life. Blackout loomed, the warehouse plunging toward hazardous dark. Elena pressed against the crate, wood rough under her palms, the storm's wind howling through the bay like her accomplice. Park stirred weakly, mouthing, "Run!" Riverside exit. But the footsteps circled closer, boots splashing methodically, checking blind spots with flashlight beams that sliced the gloom. She spotted it then, a subtle tell, a behavioral slip. The second intruder's duffel snagged on a chain, spilling a glimpse of contents. Not tools, vials shimmering under the beam, rice in concentrate perhaps, or worse, tied to the Inchan's tainted shipment. Evidence or payload for Min Jun's next accident. Her ethics warred with survival, expose the turncoat or flee into the night. Independence meant choices, but here, in the Black Lotus's underbelly, choices came laced with costs. Injury, exposure, the river's cold embrace. Headlights pierced the rain suddenly, tires screeching on the pier outside. The convoy, Black Lotus reinforcements, engines growling like awakened beasts. Gunfire erupted, muffled pops exchanging with the storm's thunder. The intruders spun, one barking into a wristcom. "Abort! Hostiles inbound!" Chaos bloomed, shadows darting, crates splintering under stray rounds, the air thick with cordite and fear. Elena hauled Park toward the side exit. A rusted door, half concealed by tarps. Its lock simple, a chain she snapped with a nearby bolt cutter scavenged from the floor. They burst into the night, rain lashing her face, the Han's waves crashing mere yards away, foam glowing under distant dock lights. Convoy vans skidded to a halt, doors flying open, Minjun's men spilling out in tactical vests, their radios crackling with updates. Perimeter secure, one down, one fleeing. Park slumped against her, alive but fading. "Driver, compromised, told them the route." His words confirmed the fracture. Internal betrayal. A captain or underling skimming for the Red Dragon, using the poisoning as cover for a larger play on shipping manifests. Elena scanned the darkness as a van's door beckoned, its interior lit with the warm glow of salvation. Minjun's voice boomed from inside, rasped but resolute. "Get in. You're under my protection now. No arguments." His eyes met hers through the rain, possessive fire tempered by the night's toll. Trust versus suspicion. She'd saved him once, but tonight's breach tested the code he lived by. Never harm innocents, yet leverage all for the family. She climbed in, Park loaded beside her, the door slamming shut as tires spun gravel. The warehouse receded in the side mirror, flames licking its edge from a stray shot. Staged diversion or accident? But as the convoy peeled toward the bridges, her phone, miraculously charged by the van's outlet, buzzed once. A photo attachment, the jade pendant, isolated on black velvet, captioned, "Ji-hoon's eyes see everything. Your next move." Who had sent it from within the convoy's secure line? And as the river blurred past, its currents whispering promises of deeper betrayals, Elena wondered if protection was just another cage, or the key to unraveling the syndicate's rotting core. The convoy tore through the storm-lashed streets of Seoul, wipers battling sheets of rain that blurred the world into a smear of neon and shadow. Elena huddled in the back of the armored van, the leather seat cold and unyielding against her damp clothes. Park groaned beside her, a medic from the lead vehicle already tending his wound with gauze and antiseptic wipes that carried a sharp, chemical sting. The air inside hummed with the low chatter of radios, encrypted bursts updating positions, scanning for tails. Minjun occupied the front passenger seat, his silhouette rigid despite the sling supporting his arm from the hospital fall. He hadn't turned since they'd pulled away, but his presence filled the space like the river's undercurrent. Possessive, unyielding. The jade pendant lay heavy in her fist, the photo's caption looping in her mind. "Ji-hoon's eyes see everything. Your next move?" Sent from a secure line, meaning the breach wasn't just external. It festered inside the Black Lotus like rot in a shipping manifest. Elena's phone screen had gone dark, but the image lingered, time-stamped seconds after they'd loaded up. Who? A guard with a hidden burner, or someone higher, testing loyalties amid the chaos. Her independence chafed against the van's confines. Safety, yes, but at the cost of her choices. Her quiet life now a casualty of one night's intervention. They veered off the main artery, onto a service road paralleling the Han, the river's black expanse flashing between concrete barriers. Barges loomed in the distance, their horns cutting through the gale like warnings. The lead van signaled a turn toward a gated compound on the north bank, A sprawling mansion disguised as a logistics office, its walls topped with razor wire and motion sensors that blinked like watchful eyes. Floodlights swept the driveway as gates groaned open, operated by a biometric scan from the driver's console. No signage, just the subtle lotus emblem etched into the iron. Inside, the foyer exhaled luxury laced with fortification, marble floors veined like cracked ice, walls lined with recessed panels hiding surveillance arrays. The scent of polished teak and faint ozone from humming servers undercut the warmth of a central hearth, its flames crackling softly. Guards peeled off at the entrance, one handing Minjun a tablet with real-time feeds, dock cams showing the warehouse smoldering, emergency crews cordoned by Black Lotus consultants to scrub traces. Elena followed him up a curving staircase, Park wheeled away to a medical bay in the basement. Mrs. Kang waited in the hallway above, her hanbok exchanged for a simple robe, eyes red-rimmed but sharp as she embraced Elena briefly. The river tried to take you both tonight, but the eyes, they guide. Minjun led her to a study overlooking the grounds, floor-to-ceiling windows reinforced with ballistic glass that distorted the storm's fury outside. He sank into a leather armchair, gesturing to the one opposite. A side table held a decanter of aged soju, untouched, Elena noted, the poison's shadow lingering. "Talk," he said, voice gravelly from the ordeal. "The photo. Show me." She handed over her phone, the screen lighting his angular face. His jaw tightened as he scrolled the metadata, origin masked, but routed through a proxy server tied to Incheon port relays. "Internal ping. One of my captains, Lee, maybe. He oversees the manifests, access to all comms." Minjun's fingers drummed the armrest, a coded rhythm betraying calculation. His code, she sensed, restrained the rage. No innocents harmed, but traitors fed to the currents. Yet gratitude warred with possession. She'd saved him, but now she was leverage, a piece in his empire's defense. Elena leaned forward, the pendant slipping from her collar. "The driver. Park said he was compromised. Fake plates led them to the warehouse. How deep does this go? Red Dragon buying off your people." Minjun's eyes met hers, stormy as the Han. "Deep enough to tamper with my drink at the grill. The blackout on the cams, pocket jammer, common tech, sold on the dark web for under $1,000,001. But the rice in trace. It matches a shipment Lee cleared last week. Fertilizer additives listed clean. I trusted him, old blood, from the Busan days when we clawed the docks from the dragons." He paused, vulnerability cracking his granite facade. A past loss, Elena realized. Ji-hoon, caught in those same wars. The elderly woman's words echoed, drowned in a raid, body claimed by the river. Minjun's restraint, his vow against innocence, forged in that fire. She traced the pendant's edge, hazel eyes reflecting the hearth's glow. "And me? I'm no player in this. I served a table, helped a man collapse. Why pull me in?" "Because my mother sees my brother in you," he said softly, the admission raw. "And I see someone who acts without fear. In this world, that's rare. Stay. Help us trace the leak. Your eyes on the details, fresh, untainted. Possession laced the offer, autonomy dangling by a thread. Financial need tugged too, her loans, the unfinished degree. But ethics rebelled. Allying with syndicates meant stains that didn't wash out. A knock shattered the moment. A guard entered, rain dripping from his coat, holding a sealed envelope. Discreet ledger pages, water-stained. From the warehouse cleanup, hidden in the intruder's duffel, manifest addendum, Lee's signature, rerouting a container to Yalu border. Red Dragon drop. Minjun snatched it, scanning the Hanja-scrawled notes, access codes for port scanners, guard rotations shifted by an hour, subtle tells, behavioral slips in the convoy's own logs, one van lagging behind en route. He's close, infiltrating now. He stood, wincing, barking orders into a wristcom. Sweep the grounds, check all plates, end in 77, priority. The room's monitors flickered to life, feeds showing perimeter patrols, but one cam glitched. A shadow near the river access tunnel, too deliberate for wind. Elena's pulse spiked. The tunnel, old smuggling route Park had mentioned in the van, linking mansion to docks via underground conduits. Stormwater could flood it, turning escape into trap. If Lee's inside, he knows the layout. Blackout again. Minjun nodded, eyes hardening. Jammed exits, diversions, but we end this tonight. He pressed a key fob into her hand. Override for the study safe room. If alarms trip, lock in. No heroics. His touch lingered. A pledge beneath the command, protection, trust, forged in crisis. But as he strode out, guards flanking, Elena pocketed the fob, spotting a subtle anomaly on the nearest monitor. The glitching cam's timestamp off by seconds, synced to her phone's last buzz. The storm howled louder, wind rattling the glass. Was the leak watching her still, or had the river's claim shifted to the betrayer himself? And if Lee struck now in the mansion's heart, whose code would break first? Minjun's loyalty, or her resolve to walk away unscathed? The storm's fury clawed at the mansion's windows, rain lashing the ballistic glass like fingers desperate for entry. Elena stood alone in the study, the hearth's flames casting flickering shadows across the ledger pages Minjun had left behind. The air hung heavy with the scent of aged wood and ozone, undercut by the faint, acrid bite of the decanter's untouched soju. A reminder that trust, once poisoned, left traces no filter could erase. Her fingers tightened around the key fob, its plastic edges digging into her palm, a small anchor against the rising tide of unease. Autonomy felt like a fading echo. She'd crossed into this world for curiosity, for the pull of those shared eyes, but now the Black Lotus's web ensnared her deeper, debts compounding like interest on her student loans. She crossed to the monitors, the screen's blue glow illuminating the subtle glitch on the tunnel cam, timestamp lagging by 3 seconds, a deliberate sync to mask movement. Human error, or institutional limits in the syndicate's jury-rigged security? No, too precise, likely a pocket jammer again, the same tech that blacked out the grill's footage. Elena's mind raced through the clues. Lee's signature on the manifest addendum, rerouting containers to Yalu borders, where Red Dragon operatives waited like sharks in fog-shrouded waters. Guard rotations shifted an hour early, access codes for port scanners embedded in the ledger's margins. Behavioral tells piled up, Park's warning about the driver, the convoy van that lagged en route, its plates now flagged in Minjun's sweep. A distant shout echoed from the hallway, muffled by the gale, guards barking coordinates into radios, the hum of security feeds spiking with alerts. Elena's pulse matched the rhythm. Her hazel eyes, Ji-hoon's eyes, the mother insisted, scanning for inconsistencies. The pendant warmed against her skin, not from supernatural warmth, but the room's heat, its jade a tangible link to the past. A boy lost to dock raids, his death forging Minjun's code of restraint, vows against collateral damage in a world of shipping manifests and burner phones. Loyalty versus fear. She felt the push-pull acutely, her ethics clashing with the pragmatic safety of alliance. Walk away, and the river's threats became personal. Texts, tales, the gloved smoker in her alley. Stay, and she became complicit, her independence traded for protection. The lights flickered once, a warning hum from the backup generators kicking in. Blackout imminent. The environment turning hazardous as storm surges overloaded the grid. Elena pocketed the fob and slipped into the corridor, the marble cool under her socks. She'd kicked off her wet shoes earlier, a small act of defiance in this fortified cage. Down the hall, Mrs. Kang's door stood ajar, soft light spilling out. The elderly woman sat by a window, prayer beads clicking rhythmically, her silhouette frail against the tempest, "Child," she whispered as Elena entered, voice fragile over the wind's howl. "The eyes see trouble coming. Ji-hoon warned me in dreams, not ghosts but memories. Stay close." Elena knelt beside her, the robe silk whispering against her knees. Minjun's sweeping for Lee. The tunnel, it's compromised. No time for gentle lies. The mother's gaze held the weight of legacy, a family code that bound them all. Mrs. Kang pressed a hand to Elena's cheek, tracing the almond curve. "He protects what's his, but betrayal cuts deepest from kin." Lee was there that night. The raid. Blame the river, but guilt festers. Footsteps thundered below, escalating tension, a botched patrol. Elena rose, peering from the window. The grounds below churned in floodlights, guards fanning out toward the river access, their rain gear slick as they checked motion sensors. One figure broke from formation, vanishing into the tree line. A subtle tell, coat too loose for standard issue. Lee's man, or the captain himself, slipping toward the tunnel for extraction. The mansion's alarms blared suddenly. A piercing wail cutting through the storm, red emergency lights pulsing like arterial blood. "Intrusion! Tunnel breach!" A voice crackled over the intercom, Minjun's lieutenant from the convoy. Elena grabbed Mrs. Kang's arm, pulling her toward the safe room adjacent to the study. Reinforced walls, air filtration, a direct line to extraction. But as they moved, the power died fully, plunging the hall into inky black, only the storm's flashes illuminating the path. Stairs creaked under hurried boots. Distant shouts morphed into scuffles, the thud of bodies against walls, suppressed pops echoing like punctuation in the chaos. They reached the study, Elena fumbling the fob into the hidden panel. The door hissed open, revealing a stark chamber, cots, rations, a console with backup battery. But before they could enter, a shadow detached from the gloom. Lee, broad and unassuming in a guard's vest, his face pale under the emergency glow. No weapon drawn, just a tablet in hand, screen casting his features in cold light. Ms. Kim, the eyes that started this. His voice was even, laced with the cadence of old Busan docks, ambition versus prudence. His betrayal born of resentment, perhaps over Ji-hoon's death, pinned on Minjun's leadership. Mrs. Kang gasped, beads clattering to the floor. That night, you let the current take him." Accusation hung heavy, the human conflict raw, loyalty tested by past grievances, fear yielding to the Red Dragon's promises of power. Lee's eyes flicked to Eleanor, calculating. The boss's code blinds him. No innocence, but the river takes what it will. Hand over the pendant. Red Dragon pays for relics. And intel. He stepped closer, the tablet showing hacked feeds, warehouse flames, convoy routes, her apartment's alley cam looping the smoker's cigarette. Surveillance web, woven from discreet ledgers and burner pings, his access deep from years of quiet climbs. Elena's hand hovered near the door panel, heart slamming. Extraction's coming. Minjun knows. Bluff, but her voice held steady, independence fueling the stand. Outside, engines revved, convoy reinforcements, tires churning mud toward the mansion gates. Lee lunged, not for violence, but the chain around her neck, fingers grazing the jade. She twisted away, slamming the safe room override. The door sealed with a pneumatic thud, locking him out as his fist pounded once, twice, then retreated, footsteps fading into the blackout. Inside, the console lit up, Minjun's voice strained over the secure line. "Elena, status." Alarms wailed faintly through the walls, the storm a cacophony of jammed exits and staged diversions. "Safe. Lee's here, tablet with feeds. He wants the pendant." Her words tumbled out, the cost sinking in. Exposure, the ledger's secrets now a weapon turned inward. A pause, then Minjun's rasp. "Hold, we're flushing him to the tunnel, but if he talks, the code breaks tonight." The line crackled, static swallowing his next words. Mrs. Kang sank onto a cot, whispering of vows kept under pressure. But Elena's mind fixed on the console's secondary screen, a partial decode from Lee's tablet, relayed via the breach. A shipping manifest for Dawn, Yalu-bound, loaded with more than fertilizer. Ricin precursors, rival factions converging. Victory would demand sacrifice, injury to the loyal, perhaps Min Jun's restraint shattered. As the safe room's vents hummed to life, filtering out the chaos, Elena clutched the pendant tighter. Was Lee's flight a feint, drawing them into the flooded tunnel's hazards, or had the true betrayal just surfaced, forcing a choice between Min Jun's protective empire and her own unscarred path? If this tale already has you hooked, hit the like button. It helps us bring more hidden stories to light. The safe room's console glowed with an insistent red pulse, the air recyclers humming like a distant heartbeat in the confined space. Elena pressed her back against the reinforced wall, the cool metal seeping through her damp shirt, grounding her amid the muffled chaos outside. Mrs. Kang sat hunched on the cot, her prayer beads scattered like fallen stars across the floor, each click of her fingers a fragile ward against the storm's rage. The pendant dangled from Elena's fist, its jade chain twisted tight, symbol of a legacy she hadn't chosen, now bait in a syndicate's unraveling web. Min Jun's voice had cut off mid-sentence, static, swallowing his command, leaving only the console's diagnostic beeps. Signal jammed, external feeds looping static snow. Elena's mind pieced the clues like a fractured manifest. Lee's tablet, glimpsed in the blackout, its screen a mosaic of hacked cams and rerouted shipments. The partial decode flickered on the secondary display. A Yalu-bound container, Dawn loading at Incheon, disguised as fertilizer but laced with ricin precursors, enough to poison a fleet of soju distilleries or worse, target Min Jun's inner circle. Guard rotations shifted in the logs. One captain's access code overriding port scanners at 4 a.m. Subtle behavioral tells, Lee's loose coat in the patrol footage, a hand slipping into a pocket for a burner phone. Internal betrayal, organized and cold, the Red Dragon's tendrils burrowing through Black Lotus ledgers like rust in steel hulls. "We can't wait," Elena murmured, her voice steady despite the knot in her throat. Autonomy clashed with the pull of necessity. Her ethics recoiled at allying deeper, but the river's threats had become personal, texts evolving into this siege. Mrs. Kang's eyes, shadowed with the weight of old losses, met hers. "The tunnel floods in storms like this. Ji-hoon." He warned of water's deceit. No mysticism, just memory. The Han's currents that claimed her son during a raid. Bodies vanishing in the undertow, leaving only whispers of who pulled the trigger or opened the gate. A low rumble vibrated through the walls, not thunder but engines. Convoy vans repositioning on the grounds, tires churning mud toward the river access. Elena keyed the console override, the safe room door hissing open to a hallway, bathed in emergency red. The alarms wailed on, a piercing dirge, but the blackout held, forcing reliance on night vision scopes and tactical lights that sliced the dark like knives. She helped Mrs. Kang to her feet, the elderly woman's grip frail yet unyielding, a mother's code mirroring her son's. Protect the family, no matter the cost. They moved down the corridor, footsteps muffled on the marble, the air thick with the ozone tang of fried wiring and distant cordite. Shouts echoed from the lower levels, Min Jun's men flushing Lee toward the tunnel, a deliberate herding to corner the traitor in the flooded conduits. Elena's phone, tucked in her pocket, vibrated once. Battery critical, but the screen lit with a single text. Tunnel East Grate. Extraction point. No sender, but the coordinates matched the mansion's blueprints, relayed perhaps from Park's burner in the medical bay. Trust versus suspicion. Was it Min Jun or another layer of the leak? The stairwell descended into shadow, handrails slick with condensation from the storm's infiltration. Water dripped from ceiling cracks, pooling ankle-deep, carrying the briny chill of the Han seeping through the tunnel walls. Elena supported Mrs. Kang, their breath sinking in the gloom, the pendant swinging like a metronome. "Why me?" she whispered, more to herself, the question born of the night's erosions, possessiveness in Minjun's gaze, the autonomy she'd bartered for survival. "Because, you see," Mrs. Kang replied softly, her voice cutting through the drip-drip, like Ji-hoon did. He spotted the fake manifest before the raid, the one that led rivals to our docks. Lee forged it then, too. Ambition over loyalty. The tunnel entrance loomed at the base, a grated maw reinforced with hydraulic locks, now ajar. Tampered, the chains snapped like parks in the warehouse. Floodlights from the grounds filtered in, illuminating swirling eddies of stormwater rushing through the conduit, knee-high and rising. The Han's roar echoed from ahead, waves battering the outlet where old smuggling routes met the river proper. Guards' tack lights bobbed in the distance, converging on a scuffle, Lee's silhouette grappling with two enforcers, his tablet discarded on a ledge, screen cracked but active. Minjun emerged from the shadows, flashlight beam pinning Lee against the slick wall, his sling discarded, face etched with controlled fury. Rain gear clung to him, water sheeting off like shed illusions. "You sold us out for Yalu scraps? After Busan?" His voice was low thunder, the code straining, restraint against the urge to end it here, no innocence, but traitors fair game. Lee spat water, eyes wild in the beam. "Your code killed Ji-hoon, holding back during the raid. Red Dragon pays for results, not ghosts." He lunged for the tablet, fingers smashing the screen in a final transmission. Coordinates beamed to waiting boats on the river, the dawn shipment alerted. A suppressed shot rang out, not from Minjun, but a guard. Lee crumpling, clutching his leg, blood mixing with the flood. No gore, just the wet slap of consequence, the cost of exposure, injury to the betrayer, but the signal sent, rivals inbound. Eleanor pulled Mrs. Kang back as the water surged higher, the tunnel turning hazardous, debris swirling, grates jamming under pressure. Minjun spun, spotting them, his eyes locking on Elena's with raw intensity. "Get her out, East Grate." He waved them toward the extraction point, enforcers dragging Lee deeper toward the river's mercy. But as they splashed forward, a new rumble shook the walls. Not storm, but engines on the surface. Red Dragon response, fast boats cutting through the Han, drawn by the ping. The East Grate burst open under Elena's push, the key fob overriding the hydraulics, spilling them onto the rain-swept pier. Convoy vans idled nearby, doors ajar, but one figure detached, a guard, coat loose, hand reaching for a concealed jammer. The driver from the hospital, his face revealed in the floodlight. Plates fake, loyalty bought. He raised a pistol, but Minjun's shot cracked first, from the tunnel mouth, dropping him into the waves, splash lost in the gale. Victory's toll. Minjun staggered, clutching his side. A graze from the scuffle, blood staining his shirt. Elena bundled Mrs. Kang into a van, the engine roaring to life as they peeled away, the mansion receding amid flares of activity, fire teams dousing sparks from a staged blackout surge. Minjun climbed in beside her, breath ragged, his hand finding hers in the dark. The manifests burned, Lee's transmission incomplete, but the eyes, they saved us again. Possession softened to pledge, trust earned through the night's forge, a future hinted in his grip. Protection, not cage. Yet as the convoy bridged the Han, Elena's phone lit one last time, dead battery beeping, but a cached message from the smashed tablet. "Ryson's en route, dawn at Incheon, eyes watch." The Red Dragon's net hadn't snapped, it tightened. Who in the port would receive the shipment now, with Lee's contacts exposed? And as the river churned below, its currents hiding more than bodies, Elena wondered if unraveling one betrayal had only surfaced the syndicate's deeper fractures. The convoy's tires hummed over the Han River Bridge, the storm's remnants scattering like defeated foes, leaving a bruised dawn sky streaked with grey. Elena sat rigid in the van's rear, the leather seat sticky with river water and sweat, her fingers interlaced with Min Jun's, his grip firm despite the makeshift bandage at his side, blood seeping through the gauze in dark blooms. The wound was superficial, a graze from the tunnel scuffle, but it spoke of costs, exposure in the syndicate's core, where every shadow hid a potential blade. Mrs. Kang dozed against her shoulder, the elderly woman's breaths shallow, her hand clutching the scattered prayer beads like lifelines. The air inside carried the metallic tang of adrenaline and wet wool, undercut by the faint antiseptic from the medic's kit. Min Jun's eyes, shadowed under the brim of a borrowed cap, flicked to Elena's phone on the seat between them. The cached message glowed accusingly. Raisin's en route, dawn at Incheon, eyes watch. He exhaled sharply, the sound lost in the engine's growl. Lee's last play, alerting the port receivers. The shipment's not just precursors, it's the full batch, massed in a fertilizer convoy, leaving at 600. Red Dragon's endgame. Flood our routes, poison the supply chain from Busan to the Yalu. Elena's stomach twisted, the jade pendant now a weight of implication rather than legacy. We stop it. Call your contacts. Customs the manifests. Her voice held an edge, independence reasserting itself amid the pull of his world. Ethics versus pragmatism. She'd glimpsed the ledger's underbelly, the human toll of bribed inspectors and vanished enforcers. But fear lingered, the river's whisper in the tunnel, the driver's betrayal, all grounded in logistics. Hacked burners, forged plates, guard rotations exploited like clockwork. He shook his head, wincing as the van hit a pothole. My code, no innocence. But ports are neutral ground. One wrong call, and it escalates to open war. We go in quiet. My team's already en route. Black vans, no lights. You stay here. Possession threaded his tone, protective instinct clashing with her resolve. The van's radio crackled, updates from the mansion, warehouse feeds confirming Lee's body swept into the Han's current, no recovery needed. Victory's sacrifice. A captain lost, but fractures exposed, internal audits pending on every ledger entry. No, Elena said, meeting his gaze. I know the grill's suppliers, Busan ties, the same fertilizer runs, fresh eyes, like you said. Curiosity had sparked this. Now moral duty bound her, the eyes that mirrored Ji-hoon's, a bridge to action. Mrs. Kang stirred, murmuring approval, her frail hand squeezing Elena's. Found family, forged in crisis, loyalty outlasting the night's blood. The convoy split at the bridge's end, two vans peeling toward Incheon under the guise of routine logistics runs. Dawn broke fully as they approached the port, the air thick with salt and diesel, cranes groaning like weary giants against the horizon. Shipping containers stacked like monolithic tombs, their labels peeling in the humid breeze, lotus icons mingling with generic freight. Security was layered, perimeter fences humming with sensors, guard towers rotating shifts every 90 minutes, manifests digitized on tablets synced to central servers. But Red Dragon's infiltration showed in subtle tells. A burner phone discarded near a loading bay, its SIM traced to Yalu proxies, a truck's plates mismatched by a digit, human error or deliberate slip. Min Jun's team fanned out, nondescript in coveralls, blending with dockworkers under the sodium lights that buzzed like persistent flies. Elena shadowed him, heart pounding as they slipped past a checkpoint. His forged ID badge, a common tech ploy, scanning clean via a cloned RFID chip. The target container loomed in Bay 17, sealed with tamper-evident locks. its manifest listing agricultural additives from a Busan warehouse they'd raided months prior. Whispers from the team confirmed Red Dragon receivers inbound, a speedboat idling offshore, ready for offload under fog cover. Tension coiled as they approached. The environment hazardous, cranes swinging loads overhead, forklifts beeping warnings, the distant lap of waves masking footsteps. A guard rotation passed, one man lingering too long, his earpiece glinting with an unfamiliar antenna. Jammer tech, prepping for a signal blackout. Min-jun signaled, his men converging silently, zip ties and suppressed tasers at the ready. No guns, his code held, restraining power to precision. The confrontation ignited in whispers. The lingering guard spun, hand to his radio, but Elena's quick grab, snatching the tablet from his belt, froze him. "Access codes," she hissed, scrolling the screen. "Overrides for the container seals, tied to Lee's signature." The ricin vials glinted inside as the lock hissed open, clear, unmarked, enough to cripple syndicates citywide. Red Dragon's boat motored closer, engine a low growl, but Min-jun's team intercepted at the water's edge. Grappling hooks snagging the hull, boarding with batons and restraints. No shots fired, logistics won. Fake distress signals drawing port security as allies. Manifests altered in real time via a laptop hack, routing the container to a Black Lotus incinerator under legitimate hazmat protocols. But victory carved its cost. In the scuffle, Min-jun took a blow to the ribs, reopening his graze, blood slicking the dock's wet concrete. Elena knelt, pressing a rag to the wound, the metallic scent sharp against the brine. Exposure hit too. A port camera caught a glimpse, footage destined for police logs unless scrubbed. And sacrifice. One of his men, young and loyal, twisted an ankle in the fray, out for weeks, a reminder that bonds tested by betrayal left scars. As the sun crested, burning off the fog, the team extracted clean. Vans melting into morning traffic, the ricin neutralized. Red Dragon's play thwarted. Back at a safe house overlooking the port, a modest penthouse with river views, Min-jun leaned against the balcony rail, bandaged fresh, his eyes on Elena. Mrs. Kang joined them, a tray of tea steaming in her hands. The pendant returned to her neck like a reclaimed vow. "The river gave back tonight," she said softly, her voice steady. "Ji-hoon's eyes in you, guiding without force." Min-jun turned to Elena, his granite features softened by dawn light. "You didn't have to come, but you did. Stay, not as debt, but choice. My world has codes. Protect what's earned. A future if you'll have it." His hand extended, not commanding but open. Trust, the true treasure. Forged from the night's logistics and losses. Protection, not possession. A pledge amid the Empire's spoils. Elena took it, the warmth chasing the chill of autonomy's edge. Financial needs faded against this. Loyalty, memory, the found family that outlasted power plays and poisoned bottles. The adventure had reshaped her, ethics intact, independence woven into their code. As the Han sparkled below, currents calm, she realized the real wealth, bonds unbreakable even by the river's depths. Yet, in the quiet, a final ledger entry nagged. An unsigned note in the captured tablet, hinting at deeper Red Dragon cells in the north. Fractures lingered, but for now, they stood united, the eyes that started it all watching over a new dawn. Subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales of loyalty, danger, and found family. See you in the next story.